Hello?
Yeah, can I speak to Cyrus Aman?
Yeah, this is him.
Hey, Cyrus, it's Eric Singer.
Oh, hi.
How you doing? I was doing another interview, so I ran over on it.
That's no problem.
I was supposed to call you at 12:30, and it's like 12:48, so
Well,
sorry.
No problem. I mean, I was doing homework anyway.
You what?
I was doing homework anyway.
Oh, okay, cool. What are you going to, college or high school?
College.
Okay.
I went out of university. I'm going to community college.
Oh, that's what my girlfriend's doing. She's going to like a
That's cool.
community college. Or, well, she's going to, what is it, Santa Monica College. I guess that, well, I don't know if that's a state college or, well, I guess it's like a community college because it's a small college.
Yeah, my mom used to live in Santa Monica. She went to Santa Monica High.
Yeah. Where am I calling right now?
You're calling in Olympia, Washington, the state capital.
Oh, we're at the state capitol?
Yeah, Washington State.
Oh, Washington State. Okay.
Right. And I used to live in Oxnard.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, I don't know, I guess do you remember me from Seattle? I went to the Seattle show.
Well, to be honest with you, like I told the last guy,
There's so many people you...
by faces. I can't remember people by names because I meet literally every day on tour.
You mean
dozens and dozens of people. And
right.
You know, if I saw your face, I'm really good about remembering people. You know, I'd say I'm about 98, 99% of remembering people.
Wait, like when I was talking to Gene whenever I was back there at the pre-show thing, and he was like, I was like, remember my name, Cyrus Aman, and he's like, oh yeah, he was kind of being sarcastic about it. He's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll remember it. I'm like, okay, because I figured, you know, you guys probably do, you meet like, what, you meet probably 20 or 30 people like every show probably backstage.
At least. And then that's not including people you meet like at hotels and all the hotel staffs and those. I mean, you're constantly meeting people.
And they're introducing themselves to you. And
put it this way, on a given day, anywhere between 50 to 100 people every day. So, you know, you times that times, say, 7 days in a week, you know, and so on on the length of a tour. You've met thousands and thousands of people. And it's really hard to remember everybody. And I know a lot of people sometimes take offense at it, like, oh, I can't believe they didn't remember me. It's like, you know, you got to be fair. It's like,
right.
If a person only met one or two people a day, that's different, you know. But when meeting that many people, it's kind of almost impossible.
Right.
It's really difficult. But
so are things like more hectic in your life now? I mean, now that you're in Kiss and everything. I mean,
no, not really. I mean, put it this way, at times, yes, but overall, no. Things are better, you know.
Yeah.
I'd say, you know, it goes with the territory. Anytime you go into a more high-profile situation, there's always going to be more demand on your time,
right?
More expected of you. But the bottom line is like I never cop an attitude about like doing interviews or about meeting people and stuff like that. Not that I don't have a bad day; everybody does. But the bottom line is you know, there's nothing I can't stand more than when people start complaining about, I don't want to do this interview and I don't want to do. Hey, you know, everybody knows that goes with the territory of being a musician. If you're gonna be in a band and you expect to be successful, then there's a little bit of notoriety or fame that goes along with that that's expected of you, and you have to give that of yourself to those people. If you don't want to do that, then get the fuck out of the business.
Right.
That's the way I look at it in a nutshell.
So
I've worked with people that had really bad attitudes about that before, you know, and I won't name names, but I just thought, that attitude really blows.
Was Alice Cooper pretty open to his fans?
Yeah, I guess, and, you know, it's like, you know, Alice, we would do, like, in-stores, well, no, we never did in-store when I was in band. We did a couple public things. Pretty much he was. I mean, if he didn't have to be somewhere, like, if he had a schedule to meet or something, then that's different. You know, he wouldn't be able to have time to stop and talk with people. But, you know, when people meet him, he would do some things on his bus, meet and greets. And, yeah, he's a super nice guy. I have to admit, he's probably the easiest person that I ever worked for or with. Probably I should say worked for, because that's what it was. I mean, with Alice, it's just he hires different bands for different tours and stuff.
Right.
But he was...
So in the rock business, whenever you guys are doing shows all the time and doing the same songs over and over, is it more like a job after a while than
put it this way, being in a band is definitely it's what I want to do, but it's, of course, it becomes like a job, and I don't mean that in any negative way. It's like, because it's like, put it this way, here's the difference. If you wake up, if you work a regular job or you're going to school, if you feel sick and you don't want to go to school that day or you don't want to go to work, you can call in sick or you just don't have to go.
Right.
If you're in a band, you can't do that. Unless you're totally gravely ill, the show must go on. I mean, I played so many shows in my career where I've been like, you know, puking before I went on or deathly sick in bed. I mean, I'm talking about think about as sick as you've ever been when you can't hardly move in bed, and I've had to get up and go and play under those conditions. I mean, that's the thing that that's when it seems like a job.
Well, how do you view things like I remember hearing about the things about Guns N' Roses, like ditching some of their shows and stuff. I mean,
well, I think, put it this way, I'm not going to get into bashing other bands and
right.
stuff. I have my pretty much definitive viewpoint and opinions of how I feel about how to conduct business. I can only be responsible for what I do. I just think that if you're going to get into this business, there's a lot expected of you and a lot of demand on your time. To start crying the blues about no privacy and all that shit, yeah, it gets out of hand. Media fucks things up sometimes. People get real nosy, and that whole kind of attitude blows. But everybody knows that's part of the game. That's part of it. It exists there, and it's not going to go away. So you have to deal with it.
Right. So I just heard about this a few days ago, and I'm sure it's pretty big news now about the Garth Brooks thing.
Yeah.
How did that? I mean, I read in the local newspaper there was a thing about it.
What did it say in the paper?
It said that Paul Stanley went to a Garth Brooks show last year and met Garth Brooks backstage or something, and said that he said something like, well, if he was inspired by our shows and he did a good job or something like that, or maybe it was somebody else that said that, but it was it said that Paul met Garth backstage somewhere and something worked out from there. And I heard on the radio on 107.7 up here the end that they said that you guys would be doing at least 2 songs. So that's all I've heard basically.
Well, no, not 2 songs. I mean, we've already recorded 1 song with him.
Oh, okay.
But
now, is it for this next studio album?
You know something? I don't know what it's going to be for yet, because all I know from the way it was told to me, basically, I don't know that much about it. Basically, the way I know it went down was Garth was a big fan of Kiss growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he said he wanted to do a Kiss song, and so he decided to do a cover of a Kiss tune. And what happened was Garth was going to just do it, and he turned around and called Paul and Gene and said, well, I want you guys to play on it, because Paul said, well, just do it, your own arrangement and do whatever you want, because he originally was talking about how he wanted Paul, I guess, to help him with the arrangement, and he said, well, just do it your own arrangement, do whatever way you want,
Mm-hmm.
And so then Garth said, well, I want you guys to play on it, and Paul said, all right, so we all flew out there.
Was it Nashville?
Yeah, so we all flew to Nashville, and we did it at the same studio where Garth does all of his records, and with his producer and his people, and we basically got there in the room and set up the gear, and we ran it down once or twice just to get the arrangement down and the feel of it. And he said, okay, let's go for it. And we just cut it, and bang, it was like done. It was like the most painless process, and he was like the nicest guy, and it sounded really cool. And
What song did you guys cover?
Hard Luck Woman.
Huh. Yeah, I can kind of see that. Actually, I can kind of see that with him singing.
Well, when you hear it, the thing that's so funny is when you hear him do it, then even though it's still, I mean, the way we played it was basically the same way it was done, the original version.
Right.
I mean, I played the drum part almost everything is done pretty much the same way, except it's a little, it has its own little feel to it. It's a little bit maybe different tempo, and things are it's a different sound, probably more, a Nashville sound or whatever country kind of a sound of production. But the way Garth sang it and everything, it sounds to me like a Garth Brooks song, even though it's the exact same song, same melody, same arrangement. I mean, I even did the drum things exactly the same, basically a little bit different, but basically we basically stayed true with what I'm saying to the Kiss arrangement. And it's kind of cool because it's got our feel, the way Kiss plays, with him singing, and Paul sang backgrounds with him.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. I think it was really I thought it's really great because it was a nice testimonial.
So Alive 3 is going to be released next month. I was talking to Karen from the New England Kiss Collectors Network, and she was saying that you guys might, instead of doing an Alive 3 supporting tours for the summer, you might record a new album for the fall.
Well,
is that true?
Well, it looks to me like, I know right now there's a promotional tour coming up starting the middle of June, which is going to be not just appearances, not playing. We're going all over the country for like about a month or something, doing different promotional stuff to do with the live album. That I know, and then I know we're supposed to play in South America, probably in August. I don't know the exact dates or what countries, but I know it's going to be in August, probably around 10 shows, possibly, in South America. I don't know if it's festivals. I don't know what it is exactly. I couldn't say, but I know it is going to be in South America. And then after that, it's kind of open-ended. You know, it could be possible touring, depending on, you know, in all honesty, it really depends on how the record does.
Right.
If the buzz on the record's real good, if the record does well, and there's a demand for us to go out and tour off of it, then there's a good possibility that that may happen. But if not, as of, plans are right now to probably just go after South America into the studio, because we've already been doing demos for the next record.
Yeah.
We've already been in the studio at least a half a dozen times and done demos on material and ideas. So we've already been working on the next record. Technically, as of about a month and a half ago, we started doing demos and putting material down.
Does it have a more hard feel to the album, or is it going to be kind of like the old type of sound he seemed to kind of create with Revenge? I mean, is it?
To me, it's kind of like, well, I don't know. It's too hard to say because I haven't totally heard anything. You know, any of the demos we've done were never completely done. They were just like ideas, rough ideas. So that's how we've been doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've heard, and from what I think I like it because it's much more free form sound. You know, it's much more looser vibe. It's more like probably a combination of like some of the stuff off Revenge, but a lot more older sounding of Seven, like the early stuff. In that vein. I don't know exactly what songs to relate. You know, what can make it a point of comparison. It just reminds me. It's kind of like it's gone full circle. Like the band's kind of, I think they started really doing that more on the last record, kind of going back to the roots, kind of coming back around to where they began in regards to songwriting and style. And I think it's even more of a continuation of that, probably. Even more so. Maybe less commercial, even more heavier. Not so much like, because when I use the term heavy, you know, I'm trying to think of adjectives or words that describe it fairly. To me, it sounds more loose, more free. You know, more that spirit of the original type of when the original material was written.
Do you think you'll ever be singing songs in the future, or do you think Gene and Paul are going to kind of keep to themselves, or?
What, on a record or live?
Right, on the record. Or live. Live, too. I mean, are you ever going to be singing Black Diamond in the future? Or?
I don't know. I guess time will tell. You know, put it this way. I would like to sing one song probably live at some time. I mean, I would like to give it a shot. So I'd look at this and we'll see. You know, we'll see what happens.
Right.
You know, it's when we go to do a set list live, I mean, like, we learned so many songs since I've been in the band to play live, not counting from when we did the club tour and then did the Revenge tour. We learned a lot more songs than we ever ended up playing, you know, just so we could try and see how they sounded or how they made sense in regards to relation to the other songs we were playing. So you never know. I mean, ironically, on the last show in Phoenix, I was going to sing Black Diamond, but then I got so sick the show before that in San Bernardino we played the night before, and I got really, really sick. I mean, I had that bad flu. I was throwing up, and I was like bedridden. So I just, you know, I was lucky to make it through the last two shows.
Right. So Alive 3 is going to be released next month?
Yep.
Do you guys?
This is May 18th, I think.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard.
Or 15th or 18th. I was told two different numbers. I mean, a lot of times some of the information I get from one person is different from the next, and then they're all basically in the same, you know, business, but we hear from different people, so.
What inspired you to play drums in the first place? I mean, how young were you when you started playing them?
Probably like 14. But no, actually I was about 11, really. I'm trying to think of when I got my first drum set. My first real good drum set was 14. But I started about like 11 years old.
When was the first time you got in those like major stuff, like actually touring with like big bands and stuff?
Probably with Lita Ford in 1984.
And I'm gonna write down many questions here. What about the? I heard something about. Somebody told me at work that he saw a thing on MTV about your pyrotechnics, about something about where you're gonna try to make them safer or something. I don't know if you've heard anything about that or.
I didn't hear anything about it.
Okay. Anyway. That's just about it for questions. I heard about this. I know that you guys were talking about. I was reading in the Honda Shade tour program that for the record
Honda Shade or Revenge?
The Honda Shade tour program. it had the chronology of Kiss, and the last part of it said that there was a 10-year contract signed in 1990, and it said that included a Greatest Hits album, Alive 3, and solo albums from Paul and Gene. Do you know if that's still going to happen, or?
I really couldn't tell. You'd have to ask Gene or Paul that. I mean, I don't know any specifics of what their record contract is, because obviously that was all done before I was involved in the band. I mean, basically, I can really only, identify with anything that's happened since I've been in the band. I mean, because a lot of stuff that's gone on before I don't know about because I wasn't there.
Right.
And what their deal is with the record thing, I mean, I know I can only tell you what we have planned. Now we have a live album coming out, and then obviously we're going to go in and do the next studio album probably in the fall. It probably wouldn't come out till like around next spring or maybe beginning of the year. I don't know for sure, depending on how long it takes to write and actually record and get the whole thing done. But I've heard the same thing before from other people who have asked me that or inquired about it, and I don't really know what the deal is. I mean, maybe they do have that in their thing, but I don't think that they're so keen on going out and just doing solo stuff when they're trying to work
in the band.
Yeah, they're more concerned with a band vibe. Like Gene's not doing record company stuff anymore. He's not. They're not producing anybody. I mean, they're not doing any of those kind of individual things. It's more like they're just doing Kiss. Gene's not acting. So like I said, they'd have to answer what they would do or not do. But I'd venture to say that they probably wouldn't be so keen on doing solo things right now when they're trying to establish more of a band focus.
Right.
Given personal things.
Do you feel that you have a pretty good say in the band? I mean, is there any truth to the how Gene and Paul have total control over the band, or do they have?
Well, put it this way. I mean, Gene and Paul have been together for 23 years.
Right.
They started the band. They kind of created what Kiss is, and obviously, I think there's proof in that because the band continued on without Peter or Ace, and still was able to make viable music and still be popular and still sell records to today. So that makes me, if I was a fan, I would make me think that, hey, those guys are and now from working with them, I can see that they've always kept their heads on and been very focused of knowing what they want for Kiss and what they think Kiss should be and what it's all about. So if people want to call that because they have the focus and the sense of direction and they're the ones that establish it all, if they want to call that the control, I think people read into that probably too much in a negative way. Put it this way, if I started a band with you and we had an idea of how we wanted the music to be and how we wanted everything to go, we had a vision, you'd want to stick to that vision. If other people tried to come in and change your vision, how would you feel if you know that you started it and it's your baby?
Right.
You got to remember, I came into the band like 18 years after they'd already been together. Bruce came in like 11 or 12 years after. Now, put yourself on the other side of the coin. How would you feel if you had your own business and somebody came in, you let them come into your business and be part of your business, and all of a sudden they started trying to want to change things and tell you how things should be done? How would you react if you know that it was your thing that you created and you would?
Right. I've heard that from other people too before, but I was just making sure that I heard it from one of you to make sure that was. I mean, I could kind of see that because they did found the band and.
Oh, I mean, see, to me, I don't look at them in a controlling way where in the negative aspect. I look at it that, Gene and Paul, to me, are what, they proved to me that they are what makes Kiss what it, they created Kiss. And
right.
They had the vision and they created it. They went out seeking to find other people to be in the band, and they've always continued when the bands had to make changes or they've continued to find people that can fit into that vibe of what Kiss does. It's like a machine, and you have to be able to, you can't put the wrong part in a machine or it won't run. And, who better knows than the person that invented that machine and created it. And I mean, I don't know if this is all making sense to you, but I've learned from being in a lot of different bands of what makes bands work and what doesn't make it work. You have to have a sense of direction, and you have to have a focus, and you have to have a leader. Somebody, at the end of the day, has to make the final decisions on what's going to happen and what's not going to happen. If you have it, you can have democracy only to a point. I mean, like, you still have leaders even in democracy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody doesn't, if you all say, well, we're all going to have an equal share, believe me, nothing gets done. I mean, an equal say on everything.
Yeah, because if everyone has veto power, then the band goes nowhere.
Nothing gets done.
Right.
You see what happens in our Congress. Nothing gets done that way. Somebody has to finally grab the bull by the horns and say, be the leader and take the reins and say, okay, this is the direction we're going to go. I'm going to take this carriage down this road.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times maybe that decision may be the right one and maybe it'd be the wrong one. But hey, everyone gives their opinions on different things, and everyone's opinions are taken into consideration. Many things. I'll suggest things, and Gene will always go, "Oh, that's a good idea," and if it's a good idea, it's used. And a lot of times you may give what you think is a good idea, and it doesn't get used, and it can be frustrating. But you have to remember, you can't have your own way, because if everybody had their own way, like I said, nothing would ever get done. You'd be all standing there in a circle, twiddling your thumbs. So I think people have to understand the mechanics of how a band operates and how a business operates, and then they can appreciate more, rather than looking into the negative, thinking, oh well, one or two people control the whole thing and other people don't get any say. It's not so much like that, like people think at all.
How do you guys view Ace and Peter now? I mean, after the way because I know whenever I read interviews with them now, which is very rare because they're hardly ever printed in magazines, they seem to be either ranking on Gene and Paul or making up rumors. Like I read an Ace Frehley thing a couple months ago in some metal magazine. He was saying that, oh, we're going to go back on a full makeup tour or something. And it was like, and then it says,
put it this way, I'll quote Gene and Paul. I don't know those guys at all.
Right.
I don't know what they were like to work with. I've heard the different stories from all kinds of different people, not just band members, whatever. And that was between those guys. But Ace Frehley has, I've had a lot of people ask me, he's been telling people, oh, we're going to do a reunion tour. Ace would like, I'm sure, for that to happen.
Because it would be better for him, actually.
Don't want it to do it. Of course, it would be in Peter's benefit more than it would be in anybody. Or, put it this way, it'd be in Ace and Peter's benefit to do a reunion tour more than it would be in Gene and Paul's.
Oh, yeah.
Gene and Paul still have KISS. They still are making records, and they still have a career going. The other two guys right now don't have a lot going on in their solo careers. So if you were in their position, wouldn't you think it would be to your benefit to try to have that happen?
Oh yeah, because they don't have really much going from them right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's not to take away from the fact of their talent or abilities whatsoever. It's just that right now, at their point, neither of them have a record deal.
Right.
And are not, and so they don't. And KISS does. If I was in a band, and had been in a band that was really big, successful, and then on my solo career I wasn't doing much for a while, I would probably start having thoughts about, well, hey, it would be cool to go and look at Black Sabbath. They're talking about doing a reunion tour. Ozzy doesn't need to do it, but I'll tell you one thing, Black Sabbath sure fucking needs it.
Yeah, they do.
Ozzy doesn't need it on his own.
Like the Ryan James Dio thing, they needed that so they can get some attention,
Well, they tried to do some. They tried to go and recapture a vibe that was successful at one time that didn't work. That happens sometimes. Sometimes you can go back and it does work.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of fans probably would love to see a regular reunion tour, but at the same time, I think.
Well, I don't know. The thing about it is, the thing I always thought about it didn't make sense was because, what are Gene and Paul going to say it to you and Bruce? You got to leave now for a little while because we got to do a reunion tour with Ace.
Put it this way. The bottom line is, if they go into a reunion tour, most likely I'd have to say that the KISS that exists now, today, would probably have to be over. Because what are you going to do, go back to that again?
Right.
It wouldn't make sense. So, and basically if they did a reunion tour, it could be basically just do either one record in a tour or just a tour, and that would be it.
Mm.
Where are you going to go from there? I don't think, you never know what can happen in the future. I would never want to predict to say that would never happen, because I could say that and then all of a sudden, I'd be eating my words 2 years later, for all I know. A lot of times, stranger things have happened. Things happen all the time in this business and in life. So I would venture to say probably most unlikely that it will happen, but you never know.
Right.
That's not for me to decide, because I have no say-so in that or not. That's up to fate. But I would say I would guess that right now there's no way that would happen. I don't know why Ace tells people that, because I've heard that from a lot of people, and I've heard Gene and Paul's comment to it, and they just say, no, we don't want to do that, and we don't plan on it. I don't know why why Ace tells people that. He's been telling people the last 6 months or a year, oh yeah, we're going to do a reunion tour. Why is he telling people that when Gene and Paul say no way?
Yeah, because it doesn't really make him look any better of saying that.
Well, who knows? Who knows what his intentions are? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the guy, and you know, I'm sure it'd probably be to his benefit if it did happen. It surely wouldn't be to my benefit.
Right.
Because I would be out of a job.
Right. So I heard you signed a 5-year contract?
I don't talk about my personal stuff.
Okay. But, so, I mean, does everything, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something here. Do you guys ever see yourselves put out another greatest hits album within the next, like, 5 years or something? I mean...
I don't really know. That's, you know, I just take things one day at a time.
Because this is your 20th anniversary, and you guys seem to be, I don't know if you're playing it down, or, I mean, I think, I heard Live 3 is supposed to be celebrating your 20th anniversary, in a sense. I mean...
Well, I don't know. I don't know what all they have planned. I know we're going to do some different things coming up in the future. What exactly we are, I can't say because I don't know for sure. There's like some ideas that are being tossed around. So rather than me give you some wrong information, I'd rather just like refrain from saying anything. I just know that there's some things planned over the course of like the next, you know, say 9 months that are probably going to have to do with the, you know, the 20th anniversary thing. But, you know, right now they're just ideas, so
right.
I don't really know for sure if they're going to happen. Can you hold on?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Hello?
I'm sorry.
Okay. So next question.
What about your Live 3 video cassette? Do you have a working title for it? I mean, or do you have an idea of what's going to be in it?
You know something? In all honesty, there's some kind of working title, and I can't remember what it's called. You got to forgive me because I forget. Gene told me what they came up with for the name for it, and I can't fucking remember.
Okay.
I'm an idiot.
Did you have any idea what's going to be in the video?
Well, I know that they're actually been editing, working on it now. There's going to be some live stuff, some old stuff, kind of a continuation of where the last one was. You know?
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking. Like extreme close-up, kind of, in that kind of mood, that sort of like setup.
I don't know. That's not necessarily the same as, not so much where like that one. They had each of us individually sitting there talking, answering the questions, type thing. There's some interview stuff, but it's all of us together rather than just individually. You know, we're all in the same room. There's some candid stuff like from backstage and all kinds of different things like that. I haven't seen any of the final stuff. I know I turned in some of the stuff that I filmed myself with my own camera. I turned in some of that to them. So we'll see.
What do you mean you took like a camcorder and filmed some stuff?
I had a little video camera that I was filming stuff myself. So I turned in whatever I knew. You know what I mean? Whatever I had.
Right. No, I don't understand. What did you film like?
I just filmed different things, you know, like
backstage stuff and I see.
On the bus, different things like that, you know.
Right.
I was hanging around, just the regular, like when the band's chumming around stuff. So I doing some of that, and I don't know if any other part of it at all will make it on there. You know, time will tell, because I just made a copy of what I had and gave it to the video guy. So if you can use some of it, great. If you can't, well, whatever.
Yeah. Is everybody pretty? I mean, is Gene, Paul, and Bruce all of them are they pretty much I mean, what are their personalities really like? I mean, besides what they seem to convey in like, you know, interviews and stuff. I mean, is that?
Well, let me ask this: what do you think their personalities are like? And then I can answer that better.
Okay. I think Gene is kind of. I think he wants to, like, for instance, with fans. I think he wants to make sure that he knows that they know that he wants that he wants to communicate with them. I think I get that kind of feeling because it seems like he always wants to do the interviews and stuff. He seems to always want to be out there in the public eye. Paul always seems to be introverted to me in a way, not like I said a negative sense, but kind of like seems to be like withdrawn from doing like small public things like the pre-show or whatever. Or he seems to be, I don't know. That's not bad though. I don't think. But Bruce seems to be more like a laid back kind of personality, like more of a humble person. I don't know if that's.
And what about me?
I don't know enough about you yet. I mean, you wouldn't have been in the band for about a year. I think you're kind of just I guess you're all good. I mean, basically when it comes down to it, you're all just typical guys that have, you know, just like, you're just all human beings. But I mean, I think Gene and Paul maybe Gene has more of an ego than the rest of you, but because I think he seems to be more of a businessman. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know what that tells you or what.
Well, I mean, I only can go on how my relationship and my interaction is with them, which is probably different than from a fan's perspective or other people that deal with them only on a once in a while basis, for a short time. I mean, to me, Bruce is pretty much, with Bruce, what you see is what you get. I mean, Gene, the same way. I think with Gene, what you see is what you get. I mean, the way Gene is the way Gene is. Bruce is like a real mellow guy, and that's just the way he is. He's kind of like, I don't know, I hate to use the word humble, because humble is not the right word. But he is just a kind of like laid back. He keeps to himself pretty much. He's not unsocial, but he's not real social either.
Mm-hmm.
Gene's probably the most sociable. Probably myself and Gene are the most sociable guys in the band.
Yeah.
We'll hang out more with fans and hang out more just in general, go to clubs or stuff. Paul or Bruce definitely are not that way. Paul, Paul's changed, because since he got married, he's changed a lot. I think Paul's become more mellow, but at the same time, he's like really into like that whole married vibe. He's into being with his wife and doing things with his wife. That's like his soulmate. That's his partner, and so he does things with her all the time. And a lot of what he does now in his life, and everything's geared towards, based around that in his relationship. And so that's probably the big thing that's changed, as opposed to him just being the bachelor. I mean, everyone knows his reputation precedes him, or did, I should say, not anymore. But Paul was always known for that kind of vibe, and he's not into that thing anymore.
So is the things about groupies and stuff, is that more exaggerated now, or is it still exist?
I'll just say this: the things about put it this way, a lot of the stuff that did exist.
Right.
Whether it exists as much nowadays, I would probably say no. Not that I'm not going to deny that it doesn't exist at all. Of course, it still does. It's a rock band. That's
mm-hmm.
part of the rock and roll thing. But I think people's, the way things are out there has changed it more than anything. More so than people individually. I think it's more so, with AIDS and that to me is probably the most significant thing that's changed people's attitudes, at least from my perspective, from what I've seen. And I can only base it on how I feel myself. I know it's totally changed my perspective on the whole thing.
Right.
I mean, it's not like it used to be. I mean, you hear these stories. I mean, through the 70s, how wild things were. I'm sure some of it's, I know not for me, but I know some of it probably still exists for some people today. But I think it's a lot more far and few between. People hopefully are a little bit smarter. Some people haven't caught on to it and don't accept it as being a threat to their own self. But I think anyone that's got half a brain realizes that you just can't be irresponsible like that anymore. And those kind of actions you're just like, it's like playing Russian roulette,
Right.
So I think that's probably single-handedly changed the attitude in most people that I know in bands and most people in general. I don't know how you feel about the situation, but I'm sure you probably feel differently than you did. I mean, how old are you?
I'm turned 19 in September.
I'm sure you feel maybe, you feel differently than you did a few months ago.
Yeah, I mean, you hear new things, and you hear about the numbers of people going up, and, the disease, it spreads like wildfire. I mean...
Hey, the bottom line is, it's like every time you take a chance, then you're just contributing to the negative percentages of that happening to you.
Mm.
So it's definitely smart to, either be smart, responsible and protect yourself, and if you're gonna have different partners to mess around, or if not, then just have a single girlfriend.
Do you feel like you live an extravagant lifestyle at all?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
Because I read in the tour program that you lived in an apartment with your girlfriend, and I figured I just picture this small apartment like in Los Angeles somewhere, and just. But I know whenever I saw, was that Paul's mansion on the Exposed video?
I don't know whose that was, to be honest with you. I don't even know, because I wasn't around at that time, so I don't even know where that was. I've always been pretty much a humble guy in generally, so I never really cared much for all the, not that, hey, everyone appreciates nice homes and nice things, but I've never been one for that being a main pursuit of mine. But you know, that's everyone teaches his own. Some people I know, guys that are in bands, are really into like playing the rock star role. And the first thing you got to do is go out and buy like a real expensive car, and you know they have to uphold this kind of image. To me, I never felt that that was something that was important to me or that I had to do. Not that I don't like nice cars, not that I don't like all those kind of things, but it's just not one of my priorities.
Do you find what do you find yourself doing from day to day? I mean, to keep busy. I mean, do you usually like record on the band every other day or something, or do you?
No, we haven't been. Well, we've done some demos and stuff over the past month and a half, but you know, we haven't really done that much playing. We did some photo sessions and interviews and things like that, but basically, I'm into cars, so I mess around with cars a little bit. I mean, I'm not really a gearhead, you know, mechanic, but I do like to mess around with them a little bit. And stuff. So I've been kind of doing that.
Do you all live in Los Angeles? I know Gene. I think Gene has an apartment in New York, doesn't he? Or Paul and Gene do.
No, they all live here.
They all live in Los Angeles?
Everybody lives here. I mean, Gene. Well, Gene's lived here for a while. So does Bruce. Paul. Well, he's married, and his wife. You know, his wife already lived out here. So Paul was living here before he got married, and he moved in with his wife. But he still has, I think, an apartment in New York, but he doesn't live in it. I think he just leases it. You know, it's eventually everybody decided it was time, I guess, from what they said, you know, there was time to, you know, just move out here. It made more sense, I guess, for whatever reasons. I mean, they all were out here before I got involved in the band. I was already living here, so I don't know why they chose to live here as opposed to New York. I guess that's something you'd have to ask them.
Right. I heard you didn't dye your hair black because you were already an established drummer, in a sense. Is that true?
Well, I mean, would you read that or something?
I read that somewhere, yeah.
Well, I personally thought it would have been real hokey.
Yeah.
Because, you know, rock and roll's not about that anymore. You know, if you look at bands today...
They don't seem to be putting on the glitzy stuff.
You have one guy with like a butch haircut or short hair, and another guy with long hair, or another guy with dreads. You know, I mean, it's the rules of you know, the rules, there are no set rules. They change all the time. Somebody establishes new rules or sets new boundaries, but then somebody else comes along and breaks it. You know, maybe, see, you got to remember that when they changed people back then, Kiss had a certain, you know, they were wearing the makeup when Eric came in, they had a certain vibe. And it's like they had to fill a kind of a character slot. And maybe for a while after that, they kind of were keeping in that line. They always had that certain look. But after a while, they started realizing that, you know, when I came along, they thought, well, what are we going to do? Not hire this guy because he has blonde hair.
Right.
Or what are we going to do? You know, tell him to go and dye his hair black. I just think it wouldn't have made sense because it's not like I was that well known of a drummer, but I think too many people knew who I was already. Where it would have been like, oh, all of a sudden Eric Sneer goes and just dyes his hair black.
Yeah, because some magazine would have made a big deal about it in the first place. I mean, they would, because those magazines already probably reported about you on the Paul Stanley tour, or on the, you know, like you were saying, like the Lita Ford or the Alice Cooper tours. I mean, the magazines would have said something about it.
Oh yeah, well I'm sure that, who knows? Maybe people. I'm sure there would have been people that made comments and said, "Oh, this is like kind of hokey." All of a sudden, you know, this guy goes and dyes his hair black. But you know, other people do it all the time. I mean, and they just do it because they want to. I just think if I'm gonna change my hair style or color, it should be because it's something that I feel I want to do, or because I want to, not because it's something I should just have to do. I don't think that that's not what rock and roll is all about. Not now. You know, I think that's what's kind of cool about what's going on now musically. Is that
Seattle grunge?
Well, not so much that. I just think that whole thing's kind of. I think it's seen its course and it's kind of played out. I think a lot of it. You know, put it this way: the bands that were gonna make it big from that genre of music have done it, and I'm sure they're gonna keep trying to sign a lot of other bands. Everyone's trying to find the next Nirvana or Pearl Jam, but you know, whatever bands we're gonna do good from that. They're doing it, and it's going to move on to something else. That's the way rock and roll works. It works in cycles.
Right.
You know, a couple of bands will make it in a certain type of sound or look or style. All the labels, everybody jumps in a bandwagon, tries to look and act that way. All the labels try to find a band that's similar to that because they want the next success story. And then eventually a lot of bands end up realizing that they're just fucking chasing their tails because there can only be like a one Nirvana or one Alice in Chains or whatever. And that's it. You know, if you try to just copy that, then what are you? You're just a copy of it. So it's like until something fresh or new comes along, a lot of these people end up just spinning their wheels, a lot of labels will sign a lot of bands and try to have them hopefully be the next big thing. If it doesn't happen, then the bands get dropped.
Right.
You know, and it moves on. That's just the way music works in cycles. That's why the most important thing is to do your own thing and have your own sound and direction. And don't try to like copy what's there. There's nothing wrong with using it as an influence, but you know, make your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ultimate way, I think.
Do you ever find yourself having like fans that go too far, like trying to meet you, or?
Well, I think some people not necessarily go too far in trying to meet you. I think some people go too far in regards to what they expect out of you in regards to your time and of yourself. They expect too much. You know, it's like, you know, the old saying, some people you give them an inch and they want to take a mile.
Right.
Some people, I very seldom run into that. I mean, for the most part, everybody's real respectful of your privacy and of your time and not overbearing or over-demanding. But once in a while I've met a few people where, because I'm usually pretty easygoing. I'm not patting myself on the back, but I'm usually a pretty nice guy to everybody and really easygoing, and I make myself pretty accessible. But I had a few people where, you know, I was try to be nice to them, and then all of a sudden it's like they try to take advantage of it. They start asking for more and more and want more and more. You know, it's like you'll give them a pair of drumsticks and they'll say, well, can I have 3 pairs for my other friends? It's like, wait a minute, you know?
Right.
You know, that kind of stuff. It's just like simple things like that, but there's some people that just get ridiculous in regards to like some of the questioning that they have for you, and they just take it too far.
I don't know how much you know about this, but I was reading this interview with Gene and another fanzine, and he was talking about the packaging for a Live 3, and he said that there was going to be like 3 guitar picks in it, and like a set of like little plastic drumsticks or something.
Oh, I don't know if that ever happened or not. I know that they were talking about trying to do something, but then I guess I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I think the record company was saying it was too expensive to do it packaging wise, and that the record company wouldn't do it. I don't know what the deal was.
So is it going to be 1 CD?
Yeah, it is 1 CD. Well, see, nowadays you can put double albums on the same CD. That's the way it is. I mean, I'll give you an example. I had the first Jimi Hendrix Electric Ladyland, which was a double album. The first time it came out on CD, it was a double CD. Well, now I have it, and it's a 1 CD. The same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you could, as technology progressed, you could get more. Originally, you could only get, just like a record, you could only put so many minutes on a record when they used to cut the vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put any more of it, it would start taking the fidelity away from it because the grooves were too close together. And it would end up making the bottom end and the top, it would end up squishing the sound and making it sound thin. So you could only put up to so many minutes. I think it was like 42 minutes or on a whole total record or something like that. 17 minutes aside or 20 minutes aside. I forget what the limit used to be. I used to know the numbers. Same thing on CDs. It wasn't so much fidelity. It's just the way the computers did it. You know, the laser information. They only could get so many minutes on a CD. Well, then eventually technology got better. You know, just like now the CD players you can buy a little CD player that's like for cheap. You know, that's great quality, where that same unit would cost 4 or 5 times as much when it first came out. You know, that's one thing that electronic technology is never affected by inflation and stuff, because since I can remember being a kid buying stereo equipment, it always gets nothing but better and cheaper.
Right.
When it first comes out, it's expensive, but once the technology catches up with it, and they learn how to perfect it and make it in mass production.
Like you can buy a one CD player now for like $100.
Yeah, you can buy little portable CD players all the time on sale for $100. You know, when the CD player first came out, those same portable jobs, they were like hundreds of dollars, $300-400 or something. I mean, even the stereo receivers at home, you can buy like a great stereo receiver for $200. Where that same unit years ago, put it this way, for that kind of watts per channel and that kind of quality, would have been like 3 times as much, but years ago. I mean, it just gets better and better, and the price always stays around the same or always comes down. You know, same thing with like video cameras. I remember I remember VCRs. My dad bought a VCR when they first came out. VHS one, it was like $1,000.
We did too. Yeah, it cost like $1,000.
Now you can buy a machine that's much better quality, hi-fi stereo. Most of them you can get a hi-fi stereo one for around $300 now, which is cheap, you know, compared to what they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can spend $500, $600, $700 and get like super amazing units, and the features they have are ridiculous. But you can buy a really nice quality one for like, you know, like I said, you know, $250, $300. So technology's really come a long way in what they can do with stuff. I mean, you know, like on CDs, you can get up to, I forget how many minutes now on a single CD, where you used to have to put it on 2.
Yeah, I only know that you can put like 72 minutes or something like that. I don't know how much the original one was.
You can put 79 minutes on a CD now.
79 minutes?
Yeah. It changes all the time. See, that's the thing, is it always gets better. You can get, it's just under 80 minutes. It's 79 minutes.
That's pretty good.
At least that's what I was told. Maybe you're right, maybe 72, but the guy at the mastering plant told me 79, so I don't know.
Well, you're probably more close to the business than I am anyway, so.
Yeah, but it doesn't always mean that I know the right answer.
Do you find yourself, why do you guys decide to put out a Live 3 this year? Or why did you decide to do this tour?
Well, I think, you know, I can only tell you why from what Gene and Paul's perspective, because, you know, like, you gotta remember, some of these questions, I've only been in the band a year and a half now.
Right.
So a lot of times, it's really hard for me to really give a proper answer because I've only have my amount of time to base it on.
Well, I had no idea when you guys were planning to do Royal Live 3 anyway. I mean,
I'm sorry?
I had no idea that the planning stages for it were before you joined the band. I mean,
Well, supposedly they were going to plan on doing a live album at some time. Does somebody all of a sudden decide, I think I'm going to go out and buy some new clothes? Not necessarily always because you need them. Sometimes you do it because you just feel like it. You feel like it's time, you want to. Or why you buy a new car, or why you want to move. Oh, I'm tired of living here, I want to move. I mean, you do things because you feel it's the time to do it. You know, so I guess they like the vibe of what's going on. You know, the band really gets along really good. You know, I don't just say that to people so because it's the right thing to say. I say it because it's true. You know, we get along really good, and there's a good vibe. It's a healthy vibe. I mean, this is the best vibe I've had in any band I've been in. You know, I've been in different kinds of bands where maybe musically the band was better. You know, as better musicians in those kind of situations, but from an overall vibe, this has been the healthiest one for me.
Well, the band sounds a lot tighter since even the last time before it. I mean, just has more like together feel or something. Of course,
I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact of the vibe that's there internally. You know, overall, when you feel, you gotta remember they came off a bad experience, and sometimes, some new blood comes in and it can help, give people a fresh approach and renew and make people feel better. I mean, they lost Eric, and that was a drag, and they moved ahead and they move on, and so I think that was, they kind of had a, sometimes a death can make people like renew their whole focus of what they're doing and make them
look at themselves more or something.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It can be real healthy. It can be a bad experience at the time, but it can turn into a positive one because you learn to like reflect on where you're at and what's going on in your life and say, hey man, I gotta, this is what makes me happy. I mean, that's like I've heard Gene say that, he realized that Kiss is the thing that makes him happy, and that's what got him to where he is now, not the movies and all that other stuff. As much as he likes all that, it's like Kiss is what's created all that. It's like, he kind of like it's like a reevaluation or a reawakening, a rebirth, and sometimes it takes a negative or a bad situation to wake you up to realize that, and maybe a little of that probably happened, There's
a couple tracks I was looking at. Then this Gene Simmons interview I read in this fanzine, it was Karen Wozniacki's fanzine, the New England Kiss Collectors Network, and she had this interview with Gene, and he was giving a track list of Live 3. I don't know how official it is yet or anything, but it was saying that I Was Made for Loving You, and I forgot what the other song was, but he said there was two songs on there that I don't think were played in the Revenge tour. Did you guys ever play I Was Made for Loving You live, or is that going to be like a sound check?
No, we did play that live, and like I know we did. There's a few songs we did on some shows that we didn't play. All the shows we only played a couple of times. Like I remember in Cleveland we played, what was it? Because we wanted to record it, so we only played it. We played it only at that show. What was it? Heaven's on Fire. It was. Not I Still Love You. What the hell? I'm trying to think. What was the song? The fuck was that song? I can't remember now. And I remember it came out really good, but I don't know, for some reason they didn't put it on the record, but it came out really good. So they did that a couple times. So there's some things that for some reason we would play them, but then we recorded it, but they didn't end up making the record, which I thought, and they were played specifically for that reason, to be recorded, and then they didn't use them. And then there's other stuff that you know, like I've had some people say, well, how come you didn't put this on, or like Hotter Than Hell, or other stuff, material. You know, one thing I found is everyone's going to have a different opinion of what they think should have been on the record and what their personal favorites are.
I used to think that too. Like I went to the On the Shade show, and I remember after the On the Shade show, I was like, why didn't they play these songs? I love those songs, you know. But
Shade, I thought, you know, even as well as Revenge, I thought they were really good set lists.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of good songs, a good combination of a cross section of the music from the whole history, really good. You know, I'm sure if you're a diehard, then you find certain material that you want to hear or certain songs, and if you don't get to hear it, it's kind of bums you out. But I think ultimately, I think that we play a pretty good set list. I mean, God knows we play a lot of songs live.
Have you guys ever thought of recording new songs during like sound checks, or because I know that some of the songs off of like I think the additional tracks on Live 2 were sound checks. Were recorded during sound checks because it says on location, so I figured it'd be that. I don't know. Have you ever thought of putting like studio tracks on like a Live 3 or?
Well, not that I know of. They weren't going to do that. I mean, originally, I wondered if we were, but the record label wanted just a live album. They didn't want studio stuff supplemented. So, because we thought that might happen, but they said not to. So I got to roll here because I'm running late. We've been on almost an hour.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
So I got to move on because I got some other things I have to do today. But hopefully you got some information that you can use. And
yeah, that's good. I can print my next fanzine.
All right, cool.
All right.
So you take care. Hopefully, have you heard the Live 3 yet?
Have I heard of it?
No, have you heard the album?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I'm surprised because so many people tell me they have the advanced cassette, and then you're the second interview I've done, and the other person didn't have it either, and I was like, wow, I'm surprised.
Well, who's supposed to is Brad supposed to distribute that from Kiss Central? Or where would I get a copy of that?
Well, usually you can call the record company, Polygram, and ask them for an advanced cassette. You know, you just say you're doing an interview and that you did an interview and you wanted to hear it. You know, you wanted to have the record to, you know, to talk about that as well. I'm surprised. Well, that's really odd.
I'll call them and find out if I can get a copy.
Find out, man.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for the interview.
All right, you take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.